fight of another kind that has the governor's attention right here in Arizona, a fight to change one of those laws that just doesn't make sense. Mike Warren is here with the story of how one victim has managed to close the gap in an Arizona law. Mike?
Well, Patty, Geri Johnson was sexually abused as a child, and she says that the system failed her. But she has turned her loss into a victory by pushing a landmark bill through the Arizona Legislature.
This is monumental legislation.
The Arizona Legislature has passed a first-of-its-kind bill closing a long-existing loophole used by convicted criminals.
There was a terrible loophole out there that victims were relying on, thinking that their rights had been protected, and the criminal defenders were able to find these loopholes and capitalize on them.
Before this legislation, a statute of limitations required victims file any civil action against the defendant within 2 years of the date of the crime. The problem there, the criminal system often takes longer than that to process the defendants, and the victim would lose their civil rights. This loophole was exposed in the case of Geri Johnson. Johnson was the victim of alleged repeated sexual molestation as a minor and has turned her loss on the civil front into a legislative victory for other victims.
I didn't even know my rights.
After failed attempts to report her abuse to police, Johnson was able to convince Coconino Sheriff's deputies to record a confrontation call with her molester.
We called him, and in an instant, he knew who I was.
The call was instrumental in convicting the molester, but he was sentenced to probation.
I just didn't feel like the criminal proceedings did enough, and so I wanted to do it civilly.
But it was too late. The loophole in the law meant that Johnson's civil rights had expired. With the guidance of the Never Again Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to prosecuting abusers and assisting victims, she took the case to Superior Court.
The Superior Court ruled that the criminally convicted defendant's rights ruled over the victims. That doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right to any of us.
The Court of Appeals also found the technicality favored the defendant and said her only option was to address the legislature. She did, and 6 weeks later, the Senate and House both unanimously passed the bill to close the loophole.
My case was lost, which it doesn't matter to me because I feel a sense of comfort that I am helping other people.
The governor is expected to sign this bill into law. She has until Tuesday to do so. If you'd like more information on the Never Again Foundation, who was instrumental in Geri's victory, their information is on our hotline.
Good story. Thank you, Mike.